This is assignment 1, my experience with education, by April. Hello, my name is April Lindberg. I just wanted to share a little story with you guys about growing up, how we discovered that I was deaf. I was born in Michigan to a single mother. She didn't know if I was deaf or hearing at this point. I had no language skills at all. There was no home signing, there was no babbling, there was no talking at all. So my mother began to get curious. When I was about 3, I was playing on the computer room floor, and my mother was in the kitchen. She was cooking, moving the pots and pans around and making a lot of noise, and I was just sitting on the floor playing, and then she actually dropped a pot on the floor, which made a really loud clatter, but I didn't hear it at all, and I just kept on playing and playing and playing. So my mother became concerned that something was wrong. So my mom became concerned that there was something wrong. There was multiple things that brought it to her attention. So she brought me to the doctor for some testing to be done, and he confirmed that I was deaf. At that point, my mom was kind of shocked, and she just didn't know how to raise a deaf child, and asked the doctor for information about raising deaf children and the school situation. She had a lot of questions that needed to be answered. For school, the doctor suggested preschool. There is a special program for deaf students, which my mother couldn't find. So we decided to look locally for a preschool, and we found one in the Grosse Pointe area, which is where I'm from. And I was the only deaf child at the preschool. But after a short time there, the teacher told my mom that it just wasn't working out, that the communication wasn't working with every other student being hearing and me being the only deaf person in there. My mom just kind of didn't understand the situation and thought that you could just gesture and kind of communicate your way through it. And my mom was very frustrated at this point. So I transferred schools a lot. Finally, we found a deaf school that was relatively close by. So I started going there regularly, and by the time that I was 7, I finally developed a language. I was using English signed English, but my mom at that time had no skills at all, and communication was very, very frustrating between the two of us. But she finally did catch up a little bit, and I graduated from that deaf school from Michigan. After I graduated, I decided to go to MSSD down in Washington, D.C. By this time, I had fully accepted that I was deaf, and I had gotten over the culture shock, and I had become part of the deaf culture, and ASL was my language. When I went home to visit my mother, I went home to visit my mom once, and she was very concerned that I wasn't speaking, I was signing fast, and she wasn't able to keep up, and the communication was again a problem. But I explained to her that I had found my identity, that this was my culture, and that I was deaf. Growing up, I used to identify as hard of hearing. I can listen to music and I can talk, but I'm past that now. I'm deaf and I cherish it. But anyway, that's my story about my educational experience and growing up. Thanks.